The world has changed drastically over the years, and today I thought it would be good to go over the changes that have occurred throughout history and how they have affected our modern day idea of the world. So, as we all know, the British began their colonizing their major areas of Canada, the United States, South Africa, India, and Oceania. But while they were doing this, many battles will occur. We will go into more of the outside history, but I thought this would be a good region to start with. My America-centric view does make it where the British, then us being colony, I have to start with them. So, as they colonized the world, eventually their colonies, they also had some in Africa, they all began to declare independence from them. This was a bad sign for the United Kingdom, but they continued to keep themselves and Canada and some of their islands in their nation. As they continued forward, they got into a little bit of a skirmish, as in obliterated. As we all know, the Irish rebelled against them, and the Scottish rebelled against them, and the Welsh rebelled against them, and even Cornwall rebelled against them. And Spain supported it, France supported it, the United Netherlands supported it, Germany supported it, and Sweden supported it. And, well, the English couldn't exactly do much against it. So they united together in their Celtic Union to be a new nation. But the Swedish, having sent most of the support in the war, created a new puppet state in the English Isles of the old claims that they used to have in the old Nordic days. And the Netherlands, doing the second most, took in some smaller colonies from the English to try to reform themselves and gain some new land. And as we all know, the British monarchy didn't do much to fight back against this. It is an uncomfortable fact that the moment the rebellion started and it seemed like they had no chance, the British monarchy immediately sailed away to their Canadian colony. This has led to them taking over Canada and becoming the first monarch of North America under direct control. Over here, the British monarch still reigns to this day, though, as we know, there is much instability in the Canadian provinces, as many are against the rule of a foreign king continuing to rule them. But the British monarchy has told them that if they ever take back the UK, they will grant them their independence, though many Canadians are seeing this as a more and more unlikely affair and have begun pushing to force them out anyways. Now, going to Canada, before all the dissolution of the United Kingdom and the dissolution of their colonies, the War of 1812 occurred. And as an American, we all know how horrible of a time this is for our nation, and how much of a loss it was for us. We lost so much of our northern territory to them, so much prosperous land that could have been our own. And not only that, but they later bought Alaska from the Russians. They offered it to us first, but we just couldn't afford it. One of our greatest mistakes, with the oil that appeared there, we really should have paid it either way. And then the expansion began, and I might be an American patriot, but I'm not allowed to say that. I might get taken out. Yeah, our glorious leader, who has been in power for 48 years, has pushed southward to regain new territories for us, and has taken land in the Caribbean from the British and from independent nations, from Mexico, creating a Mexican puppet state, and a Central American buffer state, puppet state, as well as the great work that has occurred in Costa Rica to form the Costa Rican Canal. Now, as we all know, as the Spanish were trying to fight to reclaim their territories in Europe, their colonies in South America began to rebel. Brazil had a very easy time with this, as Portugal was being completely destroyed by the Spanish. The Brazilians simply had to, well, declare independence. The Portuguese couldn't do anything about it. And, well, we will get to the controversy of African Portugal later. But, for now, they were able to take advantage of their newfound growth and expand southwards to a degree, though they were eventually stopped by the Argentinian Republic and the Peru-Bolivian Commonwealth, and as well as the Bolivian state, which was formed by Simon Bolivar, and as you can see, it used to control more, but they began to collapse, barely stabilizing. They're still ruled by one of the heirs of Simon Bolivar today. Europe, I'll come back to them. In Africa, things have been interesting. When the United Kingdom fell apart, the Egyptians took advantage of the Sudan being under dual Egyptian and English occupation, and decided to keep their troops in and send more in, keeping the region under their full control. Other than that, most of these nations are just what was drawn up by the European powers as they got their independence. There are a few unique scenarios, like I'll start with also controversy. Which should I start with? We'll start with Portugal. Portugal, after being defeated by the Spanish, were pushed out, and as Brazil would not accept them, they ended up going to their Portuguese colonies in Africa, here and here. Though they set up their main capital here and started really reinforcing it. As they did that, this continued to gain more and more independence and eventually rebelled against them. They did not have the forces to take it back without having this also rebel against them. They have slowly begun pushing into they have defeated the African nation that was once here and taken it over for their own. And they are okay. There's a lot of controversy as they are the only European monarch that still holds claim in Africa. Well, controversy. But, and they have been extremely unstable from what I know. They do not seem to be doing well, basically. They have promised the natives that they will declare them as completely independent if they ever take about Portugal, but they're even in an even worse situation than the Canadians to do that. So, it is unlikely, and the natives are really on the last thread to letting them stay. The South African Civil War began quite recently. It used to be a dominion of Canada, being the only one left somewhat on their side. But it used to be a dominion of the British, of course, but when Canada became it, they were the only other one that didn't completely leave, though now that has cost them, as the natives have risen up against the colonial elite, and they are in heavy combat. This has happened so recently we are unsure exactly who will side with which one, though it is obvious the Canadians will be siding with the loyalists to them, and as always, the Americans will probably support the other side, those us being their bitter rival I just hope we just don't get sent out. I mean, yes, I'm willing as always. This was the Arabian nation was formed by this side of it. I'm an American. I'm sorry, I'll have to do some more research into them. I haven't done a lot. I care about kind of the Anglo-Spear area a little more. I know it's not proper, but it's at least understandable. I mean, come on. But I know they were formed by the nation that used to be here. They pushed this way. They took the old British colonies that used to be here when they collapsed. And they split the French stuff that was here was invaded by them, I think. I mean, I need to do a little more research on that. But one of my favorite things that I've learned so much about is the intervention into the Russian Civil War. This and this are the two most just foreign influenced civil wars that we know of. This had all of them. This one was the Tsar's forces fighting against this fringe communist ideology. I mean, it never really popped up again, so don't really know too much about it. But the Finnish, the Polish-Lithuanians, the Ottoman Empire, the Persian Empire, the Qing Empire, and the Japanese shogunate all pushed in to fight with the Tsarist. Though, with how many forces they had in the Tsar's land, the Tsar was forced to sign a humiliating peace treaty, giving up lots of territory just to keep themselves in power. Many argue that it might have been better to even let the communists win just to have their nation still united, but we'll never really know what would have happened if they would have won. It could have ended up a lot worse, could not. We don't really know. Moving over to the east, we see the Pakistan and India, who are close allies, of course. They gained their independence from the British when they collapsed. They decided to split their border in between and help with getting people of the different religions and cultures to each other's side. They've always been peaceful, always been kind to each other, been close allies ever since their independence. Just how it's always been. They both have claims against them. Qing China, these two pretty much hate them. They hate them. It's I don't know the specifics, but there was a weird war at some point in the 1900s. But then down here, this is the Indo-Chinese Republic. They gained their independence from the French with the support from Americans. They are the Americans' closest ally on the continent. They are a republic in only name. Kind of the same. I can't say that, but they are a republic in only name. They are very authoritarian. Might be like someone else I know of, but I can't talk about. We move over to the Japanese, who gained Korea pretty easily, and also took Russian land in the intervention. They have very tense negotiations with Qing China. They took a few territories from them throughout the years, slowly. They've been in like 4 or 5 wars. They all ended in very little changing, but a few territories given to Japan. Japan, of course, took the Philippines from Spain. At the same time, the U.S.A. attacked them at one point in our history. The Indo-Chinese Republic was, of course, just given independence from France. France could not hold control of it, and they just decided, hey, we'll let you independence. We're going to keep a lot of influence in you. We're going to basically keep you as a strong ally. The Japanese, while not at war with the Qing, were at war with the Australian Union, each one having very strong independence from each other, but in one nation, high autonomy. But they did unite together to fight back against the Japanese. Even so, the Japanese did take this island and make it a puppet state, making it under Japanese control in all but name. The Australians want it back very badly, as we all know. Now, do I want to talk about Europe or... Okay, let's go over to Europe. This is where history gets complicated. I have not studied all the matters. Europe is complicated. But, I know... Okay, let's move over to the Ottoman Byzantium stuff over here first. So, the Byzantine Empire was still looking strong. They owned basically all of this territory. Like, they basically owned all Romania, the Yugoslav Republic, and the Ottoman Empire's land. Well, they owned, like, this much of the Ottoman Empire's land. But, but they declared independence, owning only like this much of it when they declared. They declared independence over here, and they decided to invade as well. They got pushed in hard, but were able to slowly hold back. They had to even give up their own capital to the Ottomans. But they did get an unlikely supporter from Spain. Spain basically gave them an command. You will support you, will give you as much as you need, no matter what, but stop being Orthodox, become Catholic, and they accepted. So, with that being the case, them being the only atheist state on Earth, of course, well, besides one other that we'll mention later, and Romania being a Catholic state, Russia, weakened to a large degree, is the only Orthodox state now. The Swedish, all of them, of course, did their big intervention over here. The Spanish, before that, took over Portugal, and when the Italians were united, the one point in history they were, only for like 15 years, kind of forgotten at this point. I know it's kind of a unknown, irrelevant topic, but they were united at one point, and they owned everything except for this Roman area. And when they invaded it, the Spanish, French, and Germans all invaded Italy. Germany took that, France took that, Spain took that, and they gave the rest to the Papal States, allowing them to kind of regain their strength. They also serve as a kind of buffer state between them. There's an alliance chain between the French, Netherlands, and Swedish. And the Germans, Spanish, and Byzantiums are another alliance chain. They try to placate both sides. They're a very neutral nation. The Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth is a very complicated history of shrinking and growing, shrinking and growing, shrinking and growing. They managed to take some land from the Germans while they were busy intervening and stuff. They managed to take land back from the Russians while they were distracted fighting against all those other guys in the coalition. But they also had lost a lot of land earlier. The Romanians tried to attack them to take some land from them while they were invading in Russia, and they ended up with a white peace. Like, they have such a complicated history, so many enemies and allies throughout. Like, they're probably one of the more complicated ones to go through. I might do a whole video on them later, as they might deserve their own. In fact, I might do their own video on all these nations, even some of the ones that are a little less known, and some of the ones that I'm not even really mentioning by name for now. I might even do a video for them. But yeah, that's about what the world is like today, and how some of the big events have happened and shaped things. Oh, I almost forgot. They are little known. Well, they're very recent to the existence, only appearing like 12-ish. Well, some say 10 years ago, some say 30, some say 100, but that's just because they're technically people there. But the scientific like union. I don't even know what their exact name is. I don't even know where the capital is. There's very little knowledge really about them. But basically, all the nations that were sending scientists to Antarctica to study it kind of united together to make their own weird thing down here in Antarctica. And they kind of just nobody else really had any military presence there. In fact, they signed that treaty to make it where they couldn't. So when they declared independence, they really just didn't have anything they could do. And they invite all scientists throughout the world and all people wanting to become scientists to come down here. Only scientists are allowed to hold power in their government. They're very interesting system, I suppose. I'm very curious to see how their system will work and if it will survive into the future or if it will collapse. I'm honestly unsure about it, but we'll just have to wait and see with them. They're a very curious idea of a nation. But I'll make sure to continue showing you if any big events happens. Like, I know there's a lot of tension really all throughout the world, and I might do a video pretty soon on the South African situation, since that's probably the biggest current situation going on. But I'll make sure to do some other videos if something else comes up in the world, and I probably will do some videos on the past of most of the nations if I get around to it. But yeah, overall, I think I'm gonna like explaining our world situation to you guys, because I think it's a good thing for people to know what the world is like currently. I think too few people know what the world is currently like and what things truly are. But yeah, and as always, peace. Lord knows we need that to keep going. Who knows if it will? Well, except for South Africa, it's already lost that. But peace.